Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the daily live extra. Get your thoughts and feelings in on anything. Spider-Man trailer, to be honest. I mean, that's really all I'm that bothered about today. Dropped at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So if you want to have a chat about the Spider-Man trailer, I'm up for that. Thierry Small has signed for Southampton. Which is no real surprise, I suppose. He left the club back in July, to be honest, and said he wanted a pathway to first team football. And he's gone somewhere where he'll probably be on the bench this weekend. So, is that a problem at Everton? You know, he is our youngest ever player, which we need to sort out very, very quickly. We need to get that off the books, because it's like when Rooney went and James Vaughan scored and become the youngest ever player. We need to just get like a 14-year-old, stick them on the bench and give them 10 seconds at the end of tonight's game or something. Listen, it's up to him. It's up to him, isn't it? I don't know what the internal politics are of Everton's academy or any academy, I must admit. And if he felt like he was ready in a year or so, and Luca Dean is blocking his path and they haven't given him assurances of whatever, then sound. He'll go to Southampton. He'll probably get in the team within no time, and then within a couple of years he could be playing for a team in Europe, for all I know. I'm not particularly happy about how he did it, but clearly, you know, himself, like a lot of players I've done in the last 2 or 3 years going to Germany and stuff, have took control of their careers. Because what we have actually found at Everton is when players leave their careers in the hands of the football club, Everton have made an absolute mess of it. It hurts me to say that, but they have. You know, players going on loan at like 22 and 23, having players like Luke Garbett and Pennington still at the club at 26, 27. Everton have made an absolute mess of it. And I honestly couldn't care less what happens to him now. I mean, I honestly wish him no ill, because I think sometimes you have to have a little closer look at what the problem is. And if there is a problem at Everton where it's stopping players breaking through to the first team squad, then that has to be addressed, instead of burying our head in the sand and saying, oh, it's all on the player. Listen, I don't like the way the player did it. I don't like the fact that he didn't turn up for training or whatever, but you know, he made the decision in his head that he didn't want to stick around at Everton. And I think it showed by going to somewhere like Southampton that he is, it is all about for him playing football. And controlling his career. And that to me says there's a problem. That to me says there's a problem at Everton, that young players are not coming through. Now, don't get me wrong, last night the under-23s played against Liverpool. They got beat 3-1. But if the average age was 17. So that's a really good start. Getting the age from the under-23s down to 17, 18 is a really, really good start. Instead of having lads who are 20, 21, who really should be playing football. Really should be playing football somewhere else. Playing for the under-23s. So, we'll see what happens to his future. He must have been given assurances. They've brought that kid in from Chelsea who's a right back, and I think he's been brilliant in the 2 games. Game against us and the game against Man United. So they're obviously willing to give young players a chance where we're not really and haven't done. So that's my take on it anyway. Have your say please in the comments on it. Because I think, as I said, I think it's a bigger picture than just about a young lad leaving Everton in whatever fashion. I think there is a bigger conversation here about why he felt he had to leave. Is Nkunku better than him? You know, if Everton turn around and say, Nkunku's better than you, lad, then that's fair enough. Luka Dean's obviously just signed a new contract, so he's gonna have 3 or 4 more years in the first team. But obviously we want young players pushing all the time. If you've got young players coming through, it means you don't have to buy them. It means you get your FFP down. It means you can save your money for the players you really need. So I'd be interested to know your take on that and what you think. And try and think, do me a favour, think clearly on it. Don't just go, oh, this lad's a knobhead for leaving Everton, because that's not really how you should conduct any kind of analysis. If you don't, just because I'm not wholly, I think what the lad has done, I think the way he conducted himself was awful, really. Not turning up for training. But he's made a decision, and I just, Everton need to look at that situation, and because if they've lost a really good talent because they couldn't assure him the best possible route to get into the first team, that needs to be, I think that needs to be looked at. Yeah, we will get compensation for the player. I think Everton rejected 1.5 million. It'll go to independent tribunal now, where Everton will hope to get more money. And we'll see what that is. Maybe closer to 3 million, maybe. We'll see what happens on that. But listen, for all we know, those improvements may have already been made at the academy, and they will take time, to bear fruit. There obviously is a lot of young players in the under-23s at the moment. There's a lot of young players, and they'll take a little bit of time. But I'd rather the under-23s was full of 17 and 18-year-olds than 21-year-olds and 22-year-olds and 29-year-olds just, because they want to win the league. It should, it's Man City have got it right. They call it their development team, because that's what it is. It's a development squad. It's a squad for producing players for either the first team or to go elsewhere and get money in for FFP. The likes of Chelsea and Liverpool have been doing a spot on for the last 3 or 4 years. They tend to win the Youth Cup, push the players in the under-23s, and those under-23s go out. And that's got to be what we start doing. It's about developing players for the first team or to sell on at a good price, so that you're lowering your FFP. And that has to be the way. That has to be the way. And Southampton have got a good track record of that, simply because they have to. Simply because they can't afford to bring in players. So they give youth a chance. It's what a lot of clubs do on the continent. They bring in, you rely on their youth squads like Everton used to do. Again, it's something that we've lost sight of in the last few years, is giving our youth a chance. If you go back to the late 90s, early 2000s, it was the youth that was propping up this club. When we sold the likes of Franny Jeffers, even though we didn't want to, and Michael Ball, Richard Dunn, obviously Wayne Rooney, helped the club survive, essentially. And then, we've just got a really bad track record recently of players. And the irony is we've gone out and bought in players when they've been 18, 19. John Stones, Mason Holgate, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And they've all had success. They've all had success. They all got into the first team. They've all played. 2 of them England internationals. John Stones playing at Man City. So they've all had success in that situation. So we'll see what happens with the lad. See how if he gets into the first team, when he gets into the first team at Southampton, which I'm sure he will, because he does look a talented player. And then we'll see what happens after that, whether he becomes a regular. But something to think about and something for Everton to sort out. Paul McAllister says, why aren't we looking at Antonio Moran from Dynamo, fast winger, good crossing on 21. He's available for 7 million. He's a wonder kid. Paul, we could say half a dozen players we should be looking at. Baz and Andy, the Piv, in the last couple of years have opened my eyes to a lot of players that when you look at their numbers and look at how much they cost, it's frightening, really, that we're not looking at them, that we're not trying to get them. You know, Andy, it's his job, and I know Baz is a student of that kind of thing as well. I'm not. I'd rather watch films. I rely on them, but they've opened my eyes up to a lot of players that aren't expensive and have great. Their numbers are incredible, and we've looked completely past them. So I don't know, mate. Paul Matt says typical brands letting small go for nothing. High related youngster who we've given away. We haven't given him away. There's a tribunal cost. We'll wait and see on that one. Dial Rimmer says apparently Carrera is back on. Was it ever on? I'll tell you what's interesting though. I'm just going to throw a little curveball in here. A little grenade. I was talking to someone last night. I don't want to say this, but someone used to come on the channel quite a lot. He was saying, isn't it weird the way Everton have been linked recently with 2 second strikers? So the lad who was in Hertha and this lad, second strikers we've been linked with going after, and you know, people saying we're dead close to signing them, and then Richarlison's linked with a move away. I just thought that was interesting. Not saying there's anything in it. I just thought that was really interesting that we were linked with 2 players who play in similar positions to Richarlison, and then Richarlison's linked away. So I don't know. Food for thought, maybe. Let's have a look. Toffee Oliver says he is hoping Everton never end up in the Championship. After 2 games in the league, not a single club had 2 wins. Unbelievably competitive league. Yeah, it is a nuts league. Like, Don Robbie 30XI says Thierry Small thinks going to Southampton is a good move. I think it is a good move. I think it is a good move for him. I really do. I think it's a good move for him if he wants to play football. Listen, he could go there and play a couple of years in the first team and then prove himself and then get a really big move somewhere. That's the way he looks at it. He could be playing first team football for 2 years, whereas at Everton, he'd be playing in the under-23s. That's what he wants. That's why Sancho left Manchester City and went to Dortmund. It's why Jude Bellingham, bit different, but that's why he left. I know, like of Manchester United were after Jude Bellingham, but that's why he went to Dortmund. You know, we've seen other players going to Germany and because they want to play. They're 16 and 17 and 18 and they want to play football. They don't want to be playing in the under-23s. They want a chance to play, and they feel like they can, and they've taken over their own careers rather than letting somebody else handle it. And that's up to them. You know, I can't sit here having a go at the lad for wanting to play football, for wanting to control his own development. I don't know if he's been badly advised. I really don't. But he's made the decision, and I think it's somewhere like Southampton, he'll get games in the first team. I really do. We are due compensation. Toffee Boy seems a backward step for Small as a year or so we'd be pushing Dean hard. But would he, the thing is though, would he though? Because the thing about I mean, you might be absolutely right, but how's he gonna? He'd have to go on loan, I'd imagine. And if he doesn't have faith in the people around him, you might be absolutely right. But what if he gets into the Southampton team? See, Southampton have announced him like he's a first team player. They've done they've done the video and all that kind of thing for their social media. They've announced him like he's a first team player. So he might be on the, He's 17. He might be in the squad for Sunday, or Saturday, sorry, for all I know. It'll be just interesting to see. He must have had assurances that he's in the first team squad, and he's not, in the under-23s. With us, he's an under-23s player. And so you can understand straight away. He's got no allegiances to us, by the way. He's from Birmingham. So we'll wait and see anyway. Wait and see. Sol says the lad will be playing Championship next year. Maybe he will, but maybe he'll be starting every game. Jason says, was watching Sky Sports News this morning. They were shocked we hadn't spent much money. Surely they know about the FFP issues. No, they why would they? They don't pay attention to the ins and outs of clubs like we do on Toffee TV. They're more interested in the top six and what they're doing. Tom Long was a Marvel fan over DC, but watched Zack Snyder's Justice League Cut, probably the best superhero movie ever made. Not Tom, behave yourself. It's better than the original, but it's... Yeah. No. Sorry, mate. Everton Blues says Keane and Holgate need out. Let's have a look. Marty Hutch says, Peg, good chat about the youngsters, and Kunku will be the same way. The young Portuguese keeper will one day play Champions League. He might do. But again, we've got a really good goalkeeper, so I think the João Virginia stuff's actually quite good. I think if he goes to Sporting after being on Everton's bench for a couple of years, and we get good money for him, I think that's a good way of doing business. Everton Blues says, what he said as well was, I'm glad to join a family-oriented club. You can't get more family-oriented than Everton. I don't know. Listen, I don't know what goes on at that level. I really don't. I don't know what goes on. I know our academy used to be like the best out there, and we used to get players regularly through, but we don't anymore. We've gone away from that. Mark G says, don't know if it was mentioned yesterday, Pep, but the match is carried by ESPN Plus in the US tonight. Not sure if this helps, but maybe the English language streams will be about. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, there's a lot of people saying the game was on at various places tonight. Toffee Boy says, surely the under-23 should only have a couple of overage players like the Olympics, but have a cap on the age. They do have a couple, but we were maxing them out. Anyway, even in the under-23s, I don't think you should have anyone over 20 in the under-23s. I really don't. I don't see that as a strategy. I think once players get to 20, they should be playing first-team football somewhere, on loan or permanently. I don't think we should be in a situation where anyone is in that under-23s team who's older than 20. They should be well gone by then. They should be experiencing what it's like to be at a club in the first team. Steve P96 says, Wood love Jefferson from Sheffield United. The rumours are true. The exact kind of players you should be going for. Need to stop buying players with no resale value. Yeah, I've been linked to him, haven't we? Jefferson, who's obviously scored one goal in the Premier League, and it was against us. What a shock! But we won't get him on the cheap, so no point. Dr. Dale says, get rid of the youth setup and replace it with buying young talent from other clubs and put them in the reserves, sell or loan any of the players that don't make it. No, that's just utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Charlie Tan says, iPad, first time posting up your world well. Would you take Adama Traore? He's fast, strong, can take on a man, and could bench press Rafa. No, I don't. I actually don't think he's that good. I honestly don't. I think his end product is terrible. Absolutely terrible. The money you'd be paying for him, 30, 40 million at least. I think he's... I think his end... He had one on Saturday, one-on-one. One-on-one with the keeper. Missed it. John Jones says, we must have no regrets tonight with the choice of the lineup. The Cup is our best choice of silverware. We seem to say that every year. Oh, yeah, Everton are playing tonight, aren't they? Well, Rafa's already said he'll play the strongest team he can. But it depends what the definition of the strongest team, I don't think Dom will be involved because of that injury. Richarlison probably won't be involved because of him playing so much football. So probably be the likes of Moise Keane playing. But it still should be a strong team. Let's have a look. Paul says, do you think there's any truth in rumours, the Richarlison to PSG rumours? There might be some. But if it relies on Real Madrid buying Mbappe in the next 7 days, and then PSG getting a deal done with us, allowing us to get someone in, that's a hell of a lot of work to do in 7 days. So, there's a week till next week. That makes sense, doesn't it? There's a week till transfer deadline day. So we'll wait and see. But I just don't think you could get the deal done in time. Are Everton going to be sitting there going, Real Madrid would have to buy Mbappe from Paris Saint-Germain for that to happen? Which could happen. I just don't think that could be all done in a week. I just don't. Sar Parker says, a lot of small defenders out today. The way I see it is, you want to leave the club because you think you get a chance. Because you won't get a chance is one thing, but refusing to train or even show up is indefensible. No, I agree on that point. Not showing up, not being professional, that's completely different. When he got to 17, I think he had the right to do what he wanted, but it was before he was 17 he was doing it. Mark D says we need one of those companies whose one-off has an interest into sponsors like Man City owners, inflate the sponsorship. You can't do that though, can you? You can't do that anymore. That because of Manchester City, everybody's looking at that kind of thing now. They pull you up now if your sponsorships look. If we were to get a sleeve sponsor and it was £20 million sleeve sponsor, they'd be like, no. Arsenal just signed on for 10, so how can you have a 21 when you're the numbers don't work out? So you want to keep those people not looking in your direction, so that all your other sponsorships are fine. Let's have a look. Toffee Boy says, would it be easier to scrap the under-23 league and have under-21s as the youngest age for youth development? I think it's all in. I think it's all in the name, isn't it? I think most clubs are trying to lower the age. I think because there's less money swishing around the lower leagues, they're on the lookout for players on the cheap on loan. So if you can get 20-year-olds out on loan to League One and Championship teams, help them out, then that obviously makes that helps everybody really. I think one of the league the league they were in was the under-21, not the league, the cup, when they play in the Johnson's Cup or whatever it is, or is it Papa John's Cup now or whatever. That's under-21s, I think. But it's up to the clubs themselves, really, to do that. Tom Long says, why would Madrid play 100 million now rather than getting them for free next summer? I think Mbappe and Haaland turn up at the Bernabeu. Haaland 70 million release clause. Possibly. But Real Madrid have had financial problems, but when has that ever stopped them in the past? It's never stopped them, has it? So okay. Richie clearly wants to be here. Just come off Copa America and Olympics, straight into training. Scores, equaliser, gets man of the match. That's professional. Yeah, listen, ultimately, Richarlison, I think, loves playing for Everton, but if an offer came in from Paris Saint-Germain, when he's got his mate Neymar there, I can't imagine his feet would touch the ground, if I'm honest. you just can't. Players love you till, love the club till somebody else comes in who's bigger. And I think if Paris Saint-Germain came in for Richarlison, as much as he loves being an Everton player, I think he would. Let's be honest. I think he would go. I think he would definitely go. Fidget Squad says, signing and playing Nkunku ahead of him would have made me want to go and prove myself elsewhere too. This is a good move all round, in my opinion. Fair enough. Lucy, I can't imagine. I can't see that happening, personally. Apparently, Eugene saying that the Virginia loan details have been confirmed. I've not seen that, but if I find it, I'll see what that says. But yeah. His loan move to Sporting Lisbon will be confirmed today, apparently. There you go. Where apparently it's a loan to buy. I don't know how much that will be and whether we can use that money this year or what, but we'll wait and see. Fidget Squad says, who are the players who plays we haven't utilised here? Can we name names? You don't think Kenny's good enough, as you've reportedly, as you've said repeatedly, sorry. No, John Joe Kenny's not good enough. Who are the players we haven't utilised? I don't know. I don't think anyone on the bench you could honestly say deserves to be in the team. And players like a Wobie have got to start stepping up. And I know he's done all right in the last game or so. But that's the problem for me, that aren't players pushing. And it just shows with Gray coming in how he's gone straight into the team. And he'll play there most of the season, I'd imagine. So I wouldn't say there's anyone we've underutilised. Mark says we're not selling with Charleston with only 7 days to find a replacement. No, I can't imagine it. Mate. Dal wasn't good enough from Fidget's squad and was our next big thing. Who are these incredible talents we aren't playing? I don't think there's anyone, because we've gotten rid of most of our players. That's what I'm saying. We've most of our players that were in the under 23s, they aged out. I think that was the problem. That's what I'm talking about. That's been the problem. We've left the likes of these players like Dahl and that generation. We left them in the under 23s for too long, when they should have been going out getting experience and playing in the championship and seeing what they would actually like, to help build them up. Look at Anthony Gordon right now. Anthony Gordon should be on loan. I don't think he's good enough for the first team, but he's a good player, so he should be out on loan, and hopefully he goes out on loan before the window closes and gets a year's worth of experience. Like, we've seen Holgate obviously went to West Brom a couple of years ago. Branthwaite spent the second half of the season at Blackburn. Go out and get that experience and play week in and week out. And that has to be done younger instead of the way we've been doing it, which is, well, in the last few years, we've just let players rot in the under-23s for the sake of the under-23s. It's not about winning trophies at that level. It's about creating plays for the first team. So, Ellis Sims, I think, is due back next month. He was injured, wasn't he? Got injured for Blackpool before, ahead of their playoff final. He's back next month. I don't know whether he'll move before that. Don Robbie says, I can imagine Godfrey will be back too. Maybe Andre Gomez and Tom Davis as your box-to-box midfielders. Makes me sick thinking of it. And John Cabaman in 6. Davey says, hi, Ped, do you think Calvert-Lewin has the potential to be as good as Kane? What are you having for tea tonight? Do I think he's had... I think he's got the potential. Whether he realises that potential is up to him. But Kane's a very, very good player, though. A very good player. They are different kinds of players. Dom is more of a target man, traditional old-fashioned target man. Yeah. What am I having for tea? Hunter's chicken tonight. Yeah, Hunter's chicken. John Jones says Wobie's a good player, but I can't figure out his best position. If he is a striker, he needs to score goals, which he's not a striker, is he? He's not a striker. Evan Blue says, oh yeah, rather Branthwaite over Keane tonight. Goes through players. Keane just stands there and lets the ball bobble past them. Branthwaite needs more experience as well. Not sure whether a game like tonight is that. Any idea how to watch the game tonight? Apparently it's on places, streams and such forth. John Jones says the whole academy at Everton is about unearthing the next Wayne Rooney and selling them on for millions that will pay for the academy for 10 years. Well, it's not about discovering the next Wayne Rooney. It's about discovering just the next Michael Ball and the next Franny Jeffers and the next Richard Dunn and the next whoever else for a couple of £1 million here or there. And the Hunter's chicken is the chicken of socialists. It's because you wrap all elements together to come up with a tasty dish. You don't waste any of the elements. You wrap them together to make a better future for everybody. So it's the chicken of socialism. Hunter's chicken. What more can I say? Will says isn't loaning players out just like trying to clear the dead wood. First team players from the club. You can only get the players out if someone is coming in for them. No, you build relationships. If they're good enough, if they're good players, the teams in the lower leagues are really struggling financially, so they want players. They want players to come in and fill positions. There's always players from Premier League clubs on loan. You got to build those relationships, haven't you? You know, and make that happen. Steve Collins says our academy's been woeful for years now, Ped. Remember the ridiculous idea from Walsh, Hoyland, for Unsworth to have his own transfer budget for the under-23s. Ended up with players like Bowler. Yeah, it did, yeah. Stephen Lee says, hope Gabama gets a run out tonight. Me too. Sims doesn't even have a professional contract with us yet. His youth one has run out. It hadn't run out. He was a scholar, and he ripped it up. But you can't sign a proper contract till you're 17, I think, anyway. Scintillating Skill says, do you think Rafa is getting much more from players like a Wobie, Decore, and maybe even Richarlison? We'll wait and see. It's early days, isn't it? It's early days. We've only played 2 games. I'm not going to go overboard about 2 games. So yeah, we'll wait and see. The Spider-Man trailer is boss, by the way. Steve says, hi Pep, what's your opinion on Baz saying we should sell Richie or even Dom at the end of next season to improve our P and S position in the Premier League? What are we really doing in the league? What if we are doing really well in the league? Well, I think it's a case of like, if someone at some point, I think someone like Richarlison will naturally want to leave Everton. And I think what you got to do is you've got to plan for that and come to a mutual point where it works for everybody. So behind this, look at the Villa about with Grealish, talking about that, saying they planned for it. They knew he was going to go, so they got players in. You know, it was all done behind the scenes. It was what was best for everybody. So if Richarlison comes to the club and says, next summer I want to go, I want a new challenge, I want to go play in the Champions League, which is fair enough. And Everton say sound. We expect to get a certain amount of money. So with that money, we start looking for replacements, 2 or 3. And we have a little bit extra money as well for other players in case we need it. You go out and you scout young players, up-and-coming players you could take over from Richarlison. Or some players you are ready to take over Richarlison right now, but are cheaper. And as long as you've got a plan in place, and it wipes clear that FFP or the Premier League rules, then fine. Because Richarlison will go at some point. I think when Baz says that, he's not saying just sell them. He's not saying just sell them. What he's saying is you plan for it. You plan for that mutual moment when players want to leave the club. I don't think Richarlison's going to be at Everton forever. I don't think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's going to be at Everton forever. But I've seen lots of players come and go at Everton. New heroes are created all the time. Romelu Lukaku went, and within a couple of years, Dominic Calvert-Lewin becomes the hero, doesn't he? The new number 9 or whatever. So players will come and go. No one would ever thought Ross Barkley would have gone, but he did. Players will come and go. You've just got to plan for it. You've got to let players go on your rules, on your conditions, and be ready. And what we've done terribly wrong in the past is we've sold players without any kind of plan of what we do next. And then we end up buying 3 number 10s and not investing the money properly and bringing in players we don't need and not bringing in players we need. Yeah, and that's what we've got to do. And if that means selling a player that wants to leave anyway, then so be it. Kirsty says, hi Pep, would you take Ross Barkley back? Lots of rumours flying around. See, the problem with Barkley is there's a good player in there, but I don't know whether anyone will ever see it. And I certainly don't think coming back to play for Everton and be in Liverpool will help that either. So, and don't forget, this is a lad who cost Everton about 20 million quid when he didn't go to Chelsea and then waited to get fit, and then his contract to run down. So, would anyone forgive him? I just think it's more hassle than it's worth. Simple as that. Simple as that. Mark says, if Everton want to keep their stars on terms, we need to make Europe. Exactly. And if we're not making Europe, how can you expect them to stay? You know, Richarlison is he gets linked with Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain, and people think he's going to stay at Everton, a team who can't get into Europe. Why would you? You know, he's mates with Neymar. You know, he's a very talented player with a tremendous work ethic. You could get into a lot of clubs around the world. Cellophone says Leicester have consistently sold their best players season after season. They're still pushing for Champions League spots. Yeah, because they've done it in a way that benefits them under their control. So, anyway, we've got a game of footy tonight anyway. So let's look forward to that. Richarlison is a star player. I'm not asked what you say. Richarlison is a star player. He's a star player for us. And if he went to another club, most clubs, he'd be a star player for them because he works hard and he scores goals and he's got the right attitude. He mightn't be full of tricks and all kinds to be the very elite player, but he is a star player. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Right, I'm going to go. I'm going to be back for 5 o'clock over on Patreon. If you're not on Patreon, why not? Come and join us. It's sound. So I'll be back at 5 o'clock over there. I'll probably be back on YouTube an hour ahead of kickoff tonight for the team news as well. So I'll be here later on for the starting 11, the breaking starting 11 show. So catch me for that. If not, I'll be on 5 o'clock on Patreon. I'll see you later.